If you look at a list of the men who are considered to be the greatest presidents of all time, usually the top two are occupied by George Washington and Abraham Lincoln. And most often, number three ends up going to Franklin Delano Roosevelt. So I would agree that Franklin Delano Roosevelt was one of our greatest presidents, pulled the country through the Great Depression, also was a good leader throughout World War II, but he was not perfect. And one of the greatest marks of imperfection during the Roosevelt presidency was something called Executive Order 9066, which was the executive order that allowed for the internment of over 110,000 Japanese Americans during World War II. And today, I happen to be just outside of either Grenada or Granada. I've heard it pronounced both ways, in Colorado. And this is where one of the Japanese internment camps was located. Now, as you can see, there's nothing here now. I can see a few old foundations here and there, but this was the site of a very large Japanese internment camp. So we're going to kind of explore around here and just see what we can find. So this is a map showing what the Granada Relocation Center, otherwise known as Amache, looked like during World War II. And we're going to kind of do our best to navigate this area. This is 9,500 acres. So this is a huge territory that we're looking at. And then here's a few pictures showing what life in the camp was like. So I guess that's a concern here. Okay. Man, I wish that there was a way to depict on video how hot it is right now. Pretty darn warm. But anyway, I thought I would show some of the remains of the foundations from the barracks here. So Amachi, or Granada Relocation Center, I'll use those terms interchangeably, housed about 7,000 people, and they were organized into different blocks. And after the war, they ended up just tearing down all of the barracks because they didn't need them anymore, and gave the internees $25 and a ticket back to California. And that was pretty much it. So anyway, I wanted to come up here and kind of show some of these old barracks, or at least the foundations of them. My goal was to show a little bit of history. Second goal was to not get bit by a rattlesnake. So obviously this is the site of one of the mess halls in one of the blocks. The barracks were really nothing more than just a frame and walls and a roof, no indoor plumbing or anything. So this is where they would have went to get their meals every day. So here at Granada, where they ended up relocating a lot of these Japanese Americans, I mean, it is arid and dry, and this is an area that had been hit particularly hard by the Dust Bowl too. And right here behind me, right there, you can see a water tower that was constructed. It's made out of some new materials and then some original materials. I think the tank got relocated to somebody's farm after the war, and then they found it and brought it back here to the camp and built like a new support structure for it. But man, there is nothing here, which had to be a shock for these poor people coming out of Los Angeles, California, and some of these other sunny, nice areas. Pretty rough. Okay, now here's an example of what the barracks would have looked like. This is a military style barracks, and they got divided up into like 20 by 24 sections that would house a family of 6 or 7. Not the whole building, just the 20 by 24 section. These were pretty drafty. It gets super hot here. It's hot right now, but it gets like to 110 degrees in the summer, like -20s, -30s in the winter. And then each little section would have a single light bulb and military style cot and a couple army issue blankets. Pretty Spartan. So here's one of the guard towers from Amache, right next to the barracks. And this whole complex would have been surrounded by barbed wire. So it's literally like a prison. And I read a story about a school student who wrote a paper talking about how the Japanese Americans were being treated, and the teacher said that, well, you're in here for your own protection from the people outside. And he said, then why are all the guns pointed inside? Pretty crazy. So I'm now here in the Amachi cemetery, which is pretty interesting. And they have this monument here, and it says, dedicated to the 31 patriotic Japanese Americans who volunteered from Amachi and dutifully gave their lives in World War II, to the approximately 7,000 persons who were relocated at Amachi, and to the 120 who died there during this period of relocation, August 27th, 1942 to October 15th, 1945. So Amachi had the highest percentage of individuals who volunteered for the war, in spite of the fact that they and their families had been relocated here by that very government. They still volunteered, proving that they were American. It's kind of a testament to the will of these people. So here in the cemetery, there's this building off to the side, and inside is this old monument. I'm guessing it has something to do with the end of the war, because it says September 1945. But if anybody can read Japanese, help me out. I'd like to know what that says. Okay, so there's yet another foundation to one of the barracks here. Now there was one guy, among several others, but one in particular that resisted this internment action. His name was Fred Korematsu. The case ended up going to court, went all the way to the Supreme Court in a case known as Korematsu versus the United States. And in that Supreme Court case, once again, the Supreme Court got it wrong. And they ended up ruling against Fred Korematsu and said that it was constitutional for the U.S. to inter these Japanese American citizens during wartime. It's not the only time that the Supreme Court has messed things up and made a wrong decision. But history is made up of people. People are imperfect. They make rash judgments. They make decisions based on race, on prejudice, and on their own personal backgrounds and feelings. But fortunately, we have history that we can look back on and learn from and not make those mistakes again. So, this was Granada War Relocation Camp, or what's left of it. Very interesting place. Dear Lord, please don't let me get bit by a rattlesnake on the way back to the van.